I think I have to be a bit careful because, like, sexy Jay Gray voice in my ear,
Silky
just a little bit.
baritones.
Yeah, I might start sweating myself. You want to press record? Okay.
Mm.
So let me know if it's rolling.
To put this in reference, how long have you been doing this for now?
So we have another show that we do with Yardstick Coffee called Let's Coffee. But we talk to professionals in the coffee industry. And this is kind of the first one where we're not talking to someone in coffee and we're not having coffee, you are having a beer.
I am having a beer. I'm having a delicious Saloma Pale Ale.
I'm not having a beer because I will have one later, but in true Asian form, my eyes are going to turn really red and I'm going to like,
I'm already red.
well, yeah, well, there you go.
That's why I'm wearing the hat as contrast.
And the shirt. We're in Singapore, by the way. So we're in Singapore inside Chinatown. And
Deep inside
inside
Chinatown.
Chinatown, we are in
Sago House. Ta-da!
Sago House. It's
On-
called Sago House because,
It's a shop house on Sago Lane, and
In
we're
Sago.
super creative with our naming of bars.
yeah, well, how many drinks have you named?
Too many. That's why I just keep on recycling the same names.
All right. So we're here today with Jay Gray. And
Hello.
as of today, you are the brand ambassador for Monkey Shoulder in Southeast Asia.
Yes, looking after 6 countries across Southeast Asia for the past 5 years, give or take.
And that means you travel a lot.
Yeah. It used to be once every 2 weeks. We've gotten slightly better at it now and scheduling, so we're slightly more spread out. But you never know. You always get this last minute, like a Songkran coming up right before a BA week in Malaysia. So
BA week?
a brand ambassador week. So
Got it.
a week filled of joy.
So here's the question. How do you get here? Like, how did you end up as a brand ambassador in Asia? Which happened first? Like, did you come to Asia or were you headhunted and brought
Nah,
here?
I came to Asia first, so I mean I was already sort of traveling through. I'd done Australia for 2 to 3 years at the Baxter Inn and Lobo Plantation, Berlin Place briefly, and a few other good bars that I really enjoyed and learnt a hell of a lot from.
How
Uh,
old were you at that point?
that was a good question. That'd be 5 years ago, so I would be 23 when I got there, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
And before that, you lived.
UK, well, UK and Barcelona. So I did UK for university, Barcelona before that after college. So did Barcelona just to skateboard and chill out and
Mhm.
have a bit of a more of a misled youth. Came back to UK to go to university and attempt to study. And then as soon as that was sort of done, I did 3 years out of a 6 year law course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So at some point, you thought you were going to be a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, at some point, I thought it would impress my family if I was going to be a lawyer. Yeah.
This is a very common story among creatives.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I should have read the signs. Actually, funny enough, applying for my new pass to stay in Singapore for the bar
Hmm.
and everything, I looked through all of my grades from college and my grades from school because I never got my diploma from university sorted. So I looked through it and it was like media A, film studies A, law D. At what point did I think that was ever a smart idea?
So you should have taken a media course.
Mm.
Because
Yeah, I mean, definitely with the way the world's going now, and specifically our industry, having some sort of knowledge on how to work multimedia, edit film, like you're going to do after this, work with audio equipment. I mean, all that you're doing now and that I will be doing in the future is all learned through YouTube, which is fantastic. Well done. But you're never gonna be as fast as you would be if you did it in school. And I don't all the shortcuts I knew would have been 10 years ago now are no longer relevant whatsoever.
that's true.
Yeah. So if you are studying media or film studies or any creative course, graphic design, and you're being pressured into doing something that you don't love, stick with what you do because I guarantee you it'll be a lot more profitable for you in the future.
Well, that's another thing is that um, in general, companies need to start behaving like media companies, right? They need to have we have companies that consult with us, and I just gave this advice out this week. If they were saying, "Oh, do we hire someone for social media? Do we hire someone for this, someone for that?" And I'm like, "No,
Mm.
hire yourself an editor in chief, and all of your communication will go through this person as a head of communications. But if you call them a head of communications, they're not going to behave in an editorial manner. And what you want is like a regularity of content just coming out.
Yeah, we suffer from the same thing. It comes down to time cost benefit as well, I guess. What I've realized over the years of shooting and editing videos, or having or directing videos to be shot for Monkey Shoulder along with me, for UBC or for winners trips and stuff like that, is we have some great videography talent that we work with regularly, and then we have some not so great editors along the way. And it's no offense to them. I think our vision for what we want from the brand is incredibly hard to encapsulate into a 3-minute video. It's much easier if you're doing it yourself. You know what you want it to look like and how you want it to sound, and then you get bogged down in the re-edits and you forget where you were when you just directed someone else. So in theory, I think it's a really nice idea to have someone, subcontracted. But then if you had someone in house, my goodness, you'd save so much money.
You'd save so much money, and also, that person's gonna get used to the rhythms, right? To the beats of what's happening every time you go out. It's more or less the same story,
Yeah,
right? And then when you have a vision, it's easier to communicate.
yeah,
Um, and I think one of the things that we've seen kind of over the last maybe 15, 10 years, which wasn't the way it used to be done, because I actually have background in, Betacam, TV, old school linear editing,
yeah.
where you spin the things and you press the buttons at the same time, it cuts
Yeah.
the video. Um,
It's actually what my dad does.
your
Cine
dad
Film and Betamax, all that stuff. He basically re-edits it and reformats it into more modern.
yeah, you had a tape this big that went into the camera, and then all of the cameramen were big guys.
And Palace is still using those though.
That's
Palace is still using
that's
for
true.
escape videos.
Definitely, definitely. Back then, you really needed someone who would shoot and someone who would edit, because completely different expertise.
Yeah.
But now we use a term in Honeycomb called shredditor, which we borrowed from someone else, and they're shooter editors.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you're the one who shot it, I want you to be the one to edit it, because if we get an editor, that guy's got to spend like 4 hours just watching all the footage
Yeah.
and understanding what happened. And if he wasn't on site, he doesn't know the logistics of like which way things were pointed. And
Yeah, unless that's when you get into a much more expensive production. Anyways, if you're a DP and then you've got your producer and your director, that's a whole different kettle of fish. And that's for 3-minute videos, which we're usually looking at, or our attention span's a bit less. We're doing Instagram stuff for 15 seconds. Like, it can be incredibly impactful. You might shoot a whole day and then scrub it down to 15 seconds to 15 minutes. But in its entirety, like I say, shredded is a fantastic term for that, and I think incredibly important.
well, in today's YouTube world, because like we were talking earlier, and you're saying that you guys are going to be starting a YouTube channel here as well,
Yeah.
right? Like a content channel here as well. Um, Kind of that sweet spot is you're really trying to have everything at 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've got or I say we, like, the way I was thinking about it working was bouncing everything through Instagram or through IGTV to the channel or to the landing site for Sago House. So
Yeah.
the brand for the channel is going to be completely different to the brand for the bar. And it may as well capitalize on my Instagram, the Cocktail Advocate.
Wow.
See, just plugging that in, smooth, seamless. No one noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what do you call this? So the thing about YouTube though is that the monetization is a lot more viable than a lot of the other platforms.
Depending on a lot of different factors, as you know, like
Popularity, of course,
yeah,
being number one.
algorithms, and also, like, I'm looking into music now, right? I'm a keen hip hop fanatic, as you know,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, okay, how am I gonna have any sort of decent hip hop coming through, just as like background noise, anyways?
Yeah.
And all the cuts I want to do, I even like booted up an old whatchamacallit. Fuck, what's that?
Cassette player,
No,
Discman,
no, an old
iPod?
No,
creative music match jukebox.
pretty much, kind
Okay.
of. Based an emulator.
Oh,
I've got
wow.
an old emulator. Yeah. And I was like looking at that, and I was looking at doing. I was like, if I sample like 5 seconds of something,
Yeah.
and then sample 5 seconds of something else, and I blend that together, will that be unrecognizable enough to not be a sample or a copyright piece of work?
So a couple of things. One, there are services for this now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's services you can go online and pay like, I don't know, it's like I think $9 a month, and then there are libraries you can browse through.
I'm cheap though, bro. I'm cheap.
Okay, that's one. The other one is that you can talk to people and make friends, right?
Yeah.
So to bring it together,
Yeah.
algorithms and hip hop music. If you are a hip hop artist and you would like Jay Gray to be making drinks over your music, comment below. And if you're not a hip hop artist, why don't you just comment below on what your favorite hip hop artist is, and maybe you guys kind of agree on that.
Yes. And we're a Southeast Asia heavy podcast, right? So we're going to be, so we're not going to do that thing where any famous bartender comes through is going to be on the channel. It's going to be our nearest and dearest in Southeast Asia. So, I mean, in five
Nice.
years here, I've got a bunch of friends who can make amazing drinks. Again, comment below if you want to be on the channel, if you're swinging through Singapore. I don't think we can afford to fly you out just yet, but if you're in Singapore,
Well, it's a good town to do that in.
yeah.
Like, we're in Manila and we don't get as many guests.
Mm,
Or, like, for example, recently we had Manila Cocktail Festival.
yeah.
All the guests are Filipino.
Oh, that yeah, but I love that about what we did there.
Yeah,
I
that's pretty
think,
amazing.
yeah,
It's the only city where you can do it.
yeah, and dude, that was like the best turnout I think I've had for or I've seen for any event like that in a long time. Like where everyone showed up and showed out, and keeping it local is sometimes the best way to do it. It's nice to have
Yeah.
international guests. It's always nice to see what other people are doing around the world. It has become so commonplace that I think the smartest move was doing that, making sure it was like everyone coming home for a shift.
Yeah.
And man, the pride there is insane. That's one thing I'll always say about Philippines is like the proudest people, and rightly so.
Something I thought that was really cool was I'd been to a number of their bars already, and then since then have visited some of the other bars that I hadn't been to yet because I had met them at the festival. So I came here, I went to Employees Only here,
Yeah.
and I really felt the same vibe. And you really see that with some bartenders where when they are at the bar, they are literally driving the bus
Yeah.
and they control the feel. Like they go in a completely different bar and the vibe would completely change.
Yeah. And I also think like we're very lucky in Southeast Asia how quickly things have grown. That's, I guess, all right, let's wind it back to like 15, 20 years ago in any major city.
Hmm.
A bar would be open, a bar would be run by usually one person. Like, and that one person would be the controlling factor in whether the night was good or not, whether the staff were happy or not. Now, I think, taking the lead from a lot of bars have paved the way in it. Group ownership, not like actual ownership of the bar, but group ownership of the night to night success has been wildly absorbed into our culture. Like you say, you go to any bar and that person's there is going to make the night, and then next night it might be a different person, but they're going to take ownership of where that other person left off. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I think everyone now can take a little bit of ownership of the bars they work in, whereas previously, like menu collaborations weren't as big. It would be like the manager would write the menu, and then everyone else would kind of have to
Live with it.
live with it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, seeing that across the board, it's not just Singapore, it's not just Philippines, but like Thailand, everything like that. Owner-operated joints are coming up, which is good, and I think people are being smarter about it. Some people are being dumber about it.
But owner operated in coffee, that's a big thing as well.
Mm.
Like you can really tell if you go to a cafe and it's just staff run.
Yeah,
Not just staff run, but like you can tell if it's staff run and you can tell if the owner is there. And I think that's something that's actually quite Western,
Mm.
like the bistro culture of Europe where the owner is there and is, taste the, no. And it adds a lot of romance to the
Yeah.
experience, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we didn't really have because like there's very much an owner culture,
Mm.
right? Where you own and you hire people.
I think
In
it's
Asia,
something that
has
Danny
changed.
Mayer kind of brought up massively. If you haven't read
Yeah.
Setting the Table, read Setting the Table or listen to it if you're not a big reader on audiobooks. It's fantastic. The guy's a genius.
I had read it in the past,
Mm.
and then I listened to it on audiobook since the last time I was here.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when I was last here, I spoke to Matt over at Common Man,
Mm.
and we have a question on Let's Coffee. If you could have a cup of coffee with anyone in the world at any time
Mm.
in history, what would it be and why? And his answer was Danny Meyer.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I should go back and read that because I think maybe I might have missed something.
Mm.
But my schedule is tighter than it used to be. So I just bought it again on Audible,
Yeah.
listening to it. And if I remember correctly, he's the one who reads it.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
He reads it. So the emphasis was different, and he really got to zero in on certain points. So that's a hot tip.
Yeah.
Like we're not such a big YouTube channel or podcast that we have an audible code for
right,
audiobooks.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but if you have the opportunity, it is a great book.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. Like, also going back to the whole education thing, you can educate yourself on anything these days. Like, YouTube's been huge on me with the build here, and with George, my partner, and Desiree, my partner in life and partner in the business. But you know, audiobooks. I like yourself. I'm working two full-time jobs right now. Essentially, one's unpaid,
Yeah.
so I don't have all that much time to be diving deep into them. But I need to learn and re-up my knowledge on like managing people better, or managing myself better, managing my time. And a lot of people look at these books like, so a good example is "You Are What You Do,"
Hmm.
right? That is a book for CEOs of big companies,
Yeah.
or those who want to become CEOs of big companies. Probably what I would say is out of my realm of expertise. I dove into that. I've read it or listened to it 3 times, and I'm taking notes on it all the time. Like, a lot of it can apply to your very first business. A lot
Hmm.
of it can apply to setting up for your very first business. And I looked at the time I listened to. I consider going through it 3 times. It's not like 6 hours I've listened to it continuously, I guess. So it's not that much time if you're doing passive taxi drives or passive train
Yeah.
trips or whatever it is. Or if you're on a plane, just keep it going. And then definitely on a plane, like, I don't even watch movies. I just listen, write notes. And forever will I be indebted to that $15 a month subscription.
Oh yeah. It's so difficult to cancel as well. Like,
Oh
it's a good way of forcing yourself to having new content
yeah,
every time, right?
I give you tokens once a month.
Yeah, and like there is a way to do it for free. You're saying YouTube, it is a big deal. There are platforms like Creative Live and where you
Yeah.
can watch in real time. But having a book that's been edited down and put into a story structure
Mm-hmm.
so that you can absorb it, in that manner, it really does help.
Yeah.
It really does help. I think for me, one of the great books that I read on Audible and is on every device I have
Mm.
all the time is called the Personal MBA.
Really?
Yeah,
I've not
and
heard this.
it's the story is there's a guy he was gonna take an MBA, a
Mm.
master's, and then he figured that, well, why don't I try learn all this stuff without taking the course?
Right.
And it was like he was inspired by Seth Godin. Seth Godin had said, like, you don't need this.
Yeah, when you pay for it, you can actually do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So he basically learned everything that he needed to know, and then he broke it down into 15-minute chunks.
Mm.
And every chapter is 15 minutes. So if you need to understand the principle of object blindness,
Right.
it's a chapter.
Yeah.
And then he's dialed it all down to like the perfect amount of time to absorb that particular kind of information.
Yeah. And I think with people in the creative industries, it's very easy to practice that and
Hmm.
then literally practice it and look back on your work and comparatively and go, okay, that's nearly spot on. You might be replicating something someone else has done, and later down the road you can make your own. I don't. So I guess like the reason for like law degrees or anything else like that, anything more structured and formal, is because you need an adjudicating board to sort of say, "Oh, you're good, like
Yeah.
you passed." But
Yeah.
with
You
creatives,
don't want a doctor that like faked it till he made it.
yeah, you don't want a personal doctorate. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, I practice on like test dummies. It's fine. I'll be good.
All right. So let's go back.
Yeah,
So you studied, thought you're going to become a lawyer.
yeah,
3 years in, not going to happen.
yeah.
So you went and you started working in Barcelona.
No, other way around. So
Okay.
I finished
Oh, sorry.
college.
And then you went back.
I did my gap year, which I extended again because having a good time in Barcelona, and that was probably the time in my life where I had zero cares in the world. Didn't have a phone, didn't have a bank account, was paid in cash. I was working behind a bar and I was skating every day, and that was pretty much it. And it was probably the most stress free I've ever been. Like, it wasn't like, oh, how am I gonna like pay for my next meal? Like, I had money ish, kind of. I had enough money to eat. And it wasn't like, oh, where am I going to go next? I had nothing to worry about. It was really good until it wasn't. Until I hurt my knee and then I couldn't skate no more.
Then how'd you end up in Australia?
So I came back, did the university thing, bailed on it to move to London, actually, the next one. So my partner at the time was a lawyer, or studying lawyer. You finish your law degree and then you have to do basically free unpaid work.
Yeah.
I went up there with her. Bailed on that. I don't know how to put it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I was working at a whistling shop, which is a pretty intense bar. I get home at like 6, 7 a.m. every night. She was leaving for work at 8 a.m. every morning.
Not compatible.
Not compatible at all. And to be fair, I hold my hands up. I probably wasn't like the best dude in the world back then either.
Mhm.
Definitely wasn't like, we were still living on a blow up bed like a year later. So
Oh,
I
God.
presume that wasn't very helpful at all. I didn't give a shit. I was always drunk. I was like, okay, cool. So that kind of flopped. And then, yeah, got the opportunity to move across to Australia. One of my best mates at the time, Simon Tui, who is Australian, he was leaving his bar, Kalukale, which was down the road. So we both kind of went back together. He went to Melbourne, I went to Sydney.
Okay.
And that's where I guess things got more serious in my career.
You had a job offer.
No, no.
So how like
I met another girl. I followed her over there.
okay. And your partner here
Yeah.
is yeah. All right. So
It's in
you
the
and
past. I'm talking 10 years ago.
yeah, sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you followed the girl to Australia,
Yeah.
followed the girl to Sydney,
Yeah, yeah.
and you got a job there as a bartender as well.
Yeah, so I had connections through Whistling Shop and through Simon, who was very helpful and sort of set me up with some people to speak to in Sydney. So in the first week I was there, probably the fastest I ever got a job. And I guess that's the great thing about the hospitality industry is like if you know enough people, you're pretty easily going to get a job in a place you want to be. What happens after that is really on you, but
Yep.
mostly we'll get some people through the door all the time if we can.
Yeah.
So yes, very friendly team at Baxter Inn helped me out. Lewis took me in. He was running the joint back then with Toby, and I don't know if you know much about the Sago House group in general, but Jason and Anton basically set up an empire in Sydney or New South Wales with some amazing bars and probably generating some of the best talented or most talented operational managers, general managers, and bartenders I can think of. They've probably won every award under the sun and just generally good people. So they took me in, and I felt like I fit in okay. It was different. So I think the back bar had 670 different whiskeys, mostly single malt, or mostly Scotch at least. I think that may have grown since then. Overwhelming to say the least to try and get that knowledge base up from like I was mainly a gin person at Whistling Shop because that's mainly what we were doing, and then moving into that heavy whiskey category, it was like wow. Now looking back on it as a brand ambassador for Monkey Shoulder, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that actually kind of set me on a good straight path.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then due to the natures of the visa in Australia, you have the choice: you tie yourself to a company for 5 years for your sponsorship, and then they'll let you stay, or you move every year. So I just moved every year, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved and opened up Lobo Plantation with Simon. That went really well, and we both parted ways from there as well. The team, sort of, Dre took it on, did an amazing job, blew it up in a good way.
What kind of bar is Lobo
So
Plantation?
Lobo's a rum bar.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, that I think I was enjoying rum a lot more at that particular point in my life as well. I was enjoying I guess, the freedom of it and not so stringent rules.
Yep.
And also, I felt a lot more flexible in drinks I could make. In terms of consumers were less hard to get on board. I can get consumers on board whiskey, like now, having spoken about it for 5 years straight,
Yeah.
and I can get them to sort of change their profiles and think about whiskey differently. But back then, rum was just so easy. It was just like, all right, now the people who understand daiquiris, mojitos, and and then you're just scaling up from there.
That's another thing though. Like, you're saying that like there was that gin phase, and then you did this whiskey thing, and then there was a rum thing, and I think that's a really important part of, and correct me if I'm wrong, of being a good ambassador is understanding the characteristics of your product, like the personality and what can be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, I think every bartender who wants to achieve some level or some level of greatness, I know greatness is the wrong word, but like every bartender who wants to be well-rounded and respected should probably do something, do a small piece of every category, a small piece of every sort of area in hospitality. And that doesn't just go for spirits. I mean, there's beers and wines, and I know what my weaknesses are. My weaknesses are wine and grape-based spirits and aquavits and things like that. Like I'm not
Fortified
really,
wines.
yeah, fortified wines. Like I mean, I've been to Tio Pepe. I've had some great experiences, and I've learned a lot. But probably not as much as your average bartender who's working with that product every day, who actually cares. And that's the other thing. People don't realize what they have in their back bar or in their fridges. They're probably taking it for granted. Like, they're probably not looking at their bottle of Antica Fulmio and going, oh, yeah, like, I actually don't know much about this beautiful product that we use every day. And there are ambassadors out there who will teach you about that. Otherwise, just get your book on. Like, start reading. And it's harder to... Spirit books tend to be incredibly dry. They don't tend to be like page turners, unless you got a competition come up. You're like, oh, I'm gonna impress them with this little factoid. But
yeah.
So
that's another question is, if there's no way to, well, we were talking about YouTube. There are ways to teach yourself now, but in a vacuum,
Mm.
it's expensive. Like you got to go out and taste all that stuff, and
Yeah.
so how do you get that point?
So I guess experientially, like I was very lucky to be a bit of a have itchy feet and kind of move around a lot, and that meant I had to experience more by proxy. Like I wasn't going to go from like whistling shop to another version of whistling shop to another version of whistling shop. Like
Yeah,
unless I really wanted to brand myself as like the gin guy or the fucking quaint speakeasy guy, which no one really wants to be.
yeah,
I was hungry to experience everything, so I pretty much dabbed my hand in every opportunity I had. Um, okay, then that's a double-edged sword because you start moving around a lot more, and it looks like you have no focus, and it doesn't look good on your CV if you're moving around a lot as well.
yeah,
I think you have to balance it with like really strong intention as to why you're moving. Don't just get like, oh, I've learned as much as I can, because that's never going to be the fact.
yeah,
Or I'm moving up for a manager position. I don't think any position I took in Australia was always lateral. Like I never took a position that was of greater power, great responsibility, greater money. It was
yeah,
always for me. It was like this is an opportunity to work under someone I've never worked under before, or this is an opportunity to learn something about a brand or spirit category I've never learned about before. So, and then what I always say to people is remember everything. Like don't like even your first ever bar job in the shitty pub. Like I remember everything about what Phil Bootsy taught me, and he was like a very interesting teacher, a very nice man in his own way. But like he would have me like polishing the brass taps until like
hmm
4 in the morning until they're sparkling clean, and then purposely like fuck them up the next morning so I had to do it again. Like he was an asshole in that respect, but he taught me hard work, which I probably didn't have instilled in me so much behind the bar at that point.
yeah. I tried. I call that Mr. Miyagiing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
like I try to do
brasso
that.
on, brasso off.
Yeah, brasso, wax on, wax off. Yeah, like there are times like I really try to do that with my staff, but there are also times when I feel like, oh man, I don't want to be the asshole.
No. Oh no, don't get me wrong. I don't think his way of educating is by any means like a good way of doing it. I'm probably one of the only staff who stayed with him. Um, so and I don't think even then I understood why I was staying or understand what he was actually teaching me, and
Hmm.
then he was building me up because he owned his own pub outright. So like, of course he was wanting everything to be pristine. If I did something wrong, of course he was wanting me to redo it, right? So what I'm saying is, I think I kind of went a roundabout way as I usually do. Don't forget anything you've learned. Just put it in like a file in your head and be like, and call on it when you need. So
Hmm.
like when people ask me like, what should I do? I join this bar and like, I don't agree with the systems. Like I don't think there should be glass out, ice first, and before you build the drink and all this sort of stuff. You're like, okay, well that's fine. It's their system. You're gonna have to like learn that and come to terms with it and approach it down the road when you can prove that your system's faster or better or the drink is more chilled when it comes to the guest or whatever it is. But long story short, like don't bitch and whine and say like my system's right. It's like no, because you learned from one person that system is right. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? You haven't even give the other system a shot yet. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, um, yeah, it's a different strokes for different folks kind of
Mm,
situation, but it's also true that if you learn both, maybe one day you will have your system that's, an
100%.
amalgamation of them all,
Yeah.
and you just take the best from all of them.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like there are no bad experiences, right? There are no bad teachers.
No,
There are bad teachers though.
there are bad teachers. Yeah, there are. And that's the other thing as well. Like you could be learning from a brand ambassador, you could be learning from a YouTube channel, you could be learning from whatever it is. Take everything with a pinch of salt. Even like reading it from a book. We we as hospitality folk, if they're anything like me, haven't finished their degrees or whatever. If I was to write a book, I would guarantee one, spell check it. Two, like I would take everything I said with a pinch of salt. Be like, oh, that Jay Gray's onto something there, but I'm going to research more and then come back with my own opinion.
Yeah,
Same thing with when a manager talks to you, respect what they're saying, do what they say at all times in a venue. If you're not in the position of power, abide by the rules and then learn more, ask opinions. Don't rally against a manager you don't like or whatever it is because they could be coming up with some good ideas. You just don't see it yet. And same thing when you're coming to a business like Sago House is going to be something quite unique, and I don't think has happened in Singapore as yet from a service standard. And that's not just because it's what I believe from all the years of experience I have. I've sort of done an amalgamation. There's a bit of Bullet in Place, there's a bit of Hinky Dinks, there's a bit of Baxter Inn. There's everything I've worked on and in this venue. But more often than not, what I've chosen to do service wise is for a very good reason. Like talking about, okay, actually, no, if I say anything on here, right, this always happens. If I say anything out loud and it goes to publish and we don't open yet, someone's going to do it before I do
So,
it.
oh well. So I always say, like in Honeycomb in our studio, we
Yeah.
have a lot of open space,
Yeah.
and people are always like, "Oh, my secrets, my secrets."
Yeah, well,
And I always tell them, you know what? Uh, Ideas are easy. It's a hustle that's hard,
that's true.
right? So I always
Yeah.
tell people, you know what? If someone beats me to the punch, I always say, you know what? Maybe they deserved it.
100%.
Like they had the hustle to go get it.
Yeah. I've come to terms with that 3 times now on 3 different things in this band.
Oh God.
I've been like, all right, good hustle. I should have kept my mouth shut in the first place. But no, okay, so let's put it this way. So, all right, everything in here has to be done for a very specific reason because we have 3 staff and 3 staff only to work a 7-day-a-week shift.
And when you say 3 staff, you mean 3 partners.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 3 of us that
literally completely owner run.
Yeah. We don't have a choice. Well, we got Jojo. Love Jojo. He will be helping out on the weekends. Not on my payroll, but not yet on my payroll until we can afford to pay him. But we'll have Jojo helping out. So yeah, let's say 3 to 4. We don't have time to like. Firstly, we don't have time to sort of be long about what we do behind the bar. There's a 1-station bar, and we have 1 person on the floor technically.
Yeah.
We don't have time. Sorry, we don't have the benefit of such a beautiful space, even though I like it. But like we don't have such an outstanding space that people can occupy themselves for very long without being attended to. So we have to mix that. Every person on this bar, on this 8-seat, 9-seat bar, needs to be spoken to and entertained by myself or whoever's behind the bar at that time. And then every person out here needs to be entertained and doted on by Des. And she's incredibly good at that. Me, not so much as a people person, but I'm going to get used to it.
So this sounds like you guys are never going to take a vacation.
No, not a chance. Not in the first like 3 years at least.
That's really, I mean, as an ambassador, you're taking what, 50 flights a year?
63 last I checked, yeah.
So it's okay. You're coming off all of this travel, way too much travel. So done with travel. So yeah, it's gonna be nice to like park here and just be here. So let's. How did you end up as a brand ambassador? Like, if someone wants to
come back to that
do
question
that,
where you asked the very first question.
yeah, because that's the other thing is that like you're leaving Monkey Shoulder, to do Sago House.
Yeah.
The funny thing is like we've been talking about this for a while. This is something you've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
And you're looking for a replacement, I guess?
Yeah, so so I'll start with the first one. So how did I become a brand ambassador? I kind of owe that to Zach DeGitt, who is currently the brand ambassador for Monkey 47 for Asia Pacific. So I came here with Proof and Company for a consultancy at Long Chim, essentially, which is a restaurant by David Thompson, very great chef. That worked for a bit, and definitely after that year was up, I was kind of out. I guess what happened was Zach and I became friends. Kind of the first real friend I had in Singapore, besides Desiree, my partner now. And he just kind of came to me one day. He's like, "Hey, I'm leaving. Like, he's going to open his bar here. I need a replacement. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I don't think I'm done with behind the bar. I'm probably going to go to Hong Kong. I'm going to look at stuff there. But thank you. Like, honestly, that means a lot. But I just don't even think I'd be a right fit." And then he came back. He was like, "Come on, dude. Like, do me a solid. Just go for the interview. It'll make me look good. Like, I'm trying to help the company out.
Yeah.
I have to at least show that I'm doing something."
Wait,
like,
so he was the previous ambassador?
Yeah, he was before me.
For Monkey Shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, previous Monkey Shoulder, now Monkey 47. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he came to me at Long Chim. He knew I was leaving anyways. He thought I was leaving Singapore, and I think at that time we were just moved in together. We were just living together. Anyways, I said no the first time. It wasn't that I didn't want to be. I just honestly didn't think I was ready at that point to become an educator when I still felt like I had a lot to learn. And that's, I guess at that point in my life, I was chasing learning. I kind of wanted to go back to it after sort of running Long Chim and dealing with the headaches of a lot of that. I was like, I think I want to go back behind someone like Tim Phillips or any one of those great legends who sort of taught me previously. And yeah, like I said, please make me look like I'm at least trying. I was like, all right, cool. I came for an interview. I met Sash, who's my boss now. And we hit it off, Sash and Marcus and I, and it kind of felt right. I came in for a second interview and I had pneumonia.
Oh, God.
And like, I was really, really sick. And I came in anyways, and they were like, "Is he high? Like, is he okay?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really sick. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, but I'm here." And we did the second interview, and I thought, well, even if I did want it now, it's gone. But they gave it to me. I with my sort of stipulations was I want to be able to write my own program. Like, I want to be able to write my own education program.
Yeah.
I want to be mostly about that. If I'm gonna become an educator, I want to take it seriously. And they're like, yeah, carte blanche for year one. It's always carte blanche the first year.
Yeah. So I think this is something that a lot of people maybe don't realize about brand ambassadors is that that's the job. It's you are teaching people.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be committed to your community. You have to be committed to hospitality. I think from my first year, people saw me partying a lot, and I think they thought that's what it was.
Yep.
They definitely didn't see like the 4 a.m. finishes followed by the 8 a.m. wake up call to get to the office for 9 o'clock meetings.
Yep.
That's every day, pretty much. I mean, I can't say I actually turn up at 9 a.m. every day, but
Yeah.
I tried. They don't see you sort of panicking about writing a new training every year, or like my first two, I did training every half year, a new one, and then I would do three because I would stagger it to beginners, intermediate, and sort of more higher level, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Advanced
then
is the wrong word, right?
yeah, advanced, I guess. No, it makes sense. Like, I kind of the higher up trainings I was trying to write, or the trainings that were different. I wanted them to be engaging for people who felt like I shouldn't be teaching them. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
be other
Yeah.
versions of me going like, well, I don't really want to listen to Jay Gray talk about stuff that I already know.
Yeah.
So they were way more, I guess, theoretical and inclusive trainings.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like it stops being academic and it becomes a bit more, um,
Brain trusty.
yeah, like Illuminati level,
Yeah.
right?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I would never say to ChaCha from Rabbit Hole in Bangkok, like, "Hey, can
Hmm.
I teach you something?" Like,
Hmm.
that to me seems very incredulous and like a bit big-headed. As someone at her level who is an educator herself and all this sort of stuff, I would love to say, or what I try and do with the other trainings with writing, or the higher up trainings I'm writing, is like, "Hey, would you like to come and do this activation with me, with your team, and hopefully we can all learn something together." That's
Yeah.
more likely what I'll do for that third tier, because at the end of the day, I still learn stuff like every single day,
Hmm.
and I try my best to keep on form as well.
Yeah. And you're 60 years old now. No, no.
Yeah. That's why I'm so cold now.
Yeah.
That's why
You
I'm
look like a baby.
yeah, 30 in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I am
So,
35.
oh, you look younger than me,
Oh,
asshole.
yeah. Thank you. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Everyone in Asia looks younger than me.
So,
Desiree is 34.
well, thank you, Jay. On behalf of Des, thank you, Jay, for all of you too.
She makes me look good. It's fine. I'm happy. You make me
She
look
does.
good.
She does make you look very good, Jay. All right. So 5 years at Monkey Shoulder. What were the
Yeah.
highlights? What were the best parts of that?
Oh, that's hard. I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking about doing like a hype reel of 5 years, and then I looked at all the footage and went, no.
Oh God.
That's all too dangerous. And there's lots of different weight classes that I was in at certain points. I think I'm medium now,
Oh God.
medium to large. So, anyways, I think every Singapore Cocktail Festival has been amazing, like
Okay.
every single one. And I think that so from the very first one I was included in, that was like revolutionary because it was the biggest one we'd done. I think it was all the OGs were here, and it was quite tight at that point. It wasn't so international. And when I say international, I don't mean Southeast Asia. I mean like international. Rest of the world kind of coming over and taking over Singapore.
Yeah.
And then we've expanded every year on that. I've had great times. I guess I have to say, like, every time I've had a full training where like everyone who said they were going to come comes, and you have like a room of 30 to 35 people, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. It's a great feeling. And you nail it as well. If you don't mess up your words, not so much I don't care about swearing, but like if I don't stutter so much or forget my lines
Hmm.
or become overwhelmed and I finish that training and like everyone enjoys it, that is like the biggest high I've gotten from the job so far. Um, and I guess you feel a bit like you definitely feel like a rock star. There's no two ways about it. When you come off a stage or when you come off from a training like that and it goes really well, you're like, oh man, I actually might be okay at what I do. Like I actually might be good at this. And then you do that until you mess up next time, and then
The
brings back
funny
to
thing is
earth.
that like it's essentially the same thing. Like I go over this a lot of times when we're talking about service, is that when especially in a cafe, but
Mm.
it's true whether it's a cafe or a bar or whatever. When someone shows up in your establishment, they don't really care what your day was like,
Nah,
what your life was like.
not
Like,
supposed to care.
was that?
They're not
They're
supposed
not
to care.
supposed to care. Exactly. Like for them, they are walking into, for all intents and purposes, Disneyland,
Mm,
right? So they come there with an expectation that there's going to be a Mickey Mouse. You're going to take a picture of the Mickey Mouse. There's going to be some nice rides. They're going to ride the rides. The lines are going to be manageable, but not so bad. And
yeah.
they're going to be crying kids running around, and you're going to probably step and puke at one point.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, most of them
If
pretty
you
much the same,
puke if you're lucky.
if you're lucky. And yeah, so they come in, and like you need to be Mickey Mouse for them,
Yeah,
right? They're expecting, a happy, in our case, barista,
yeah.
right, who's very happy to serve them and don't really care that you're being unreasonable sometimes.
Mm.
Like that's very much the job.
Yeah, and trust me, that's definitely the job for behind the bar, behind the counter, or whatever it is in hospitality in general. That's the job, and that's what we sign up to. And I think everyone's getting on board with that slowly but surely. That it's not about them or their Instagram photos or how
Yeah.
amazing they think their drink is. It's about what the customer thinks of all that, right? Not necessarily Instagram photos, but the drink and the service. Um, with the brand ambassador role, if people really want to do it, there are those dizzying highs where you walk off stage and go like, "That's amazing," or you have a guest shift that's full and people like your drinks. You're like, "Wow, that's awesome!" Like that is all great, but it's nothing compared to 7 days a week, no choice. You are happy. Like
Yeah.
there, you don't get a bad day.
Yeah.
Like I got told, so I got brand ambassador of the year this year, which I'm very thankful for my last year. Thank you
Congratulations.
very much.
And this is from.
Singapore cocktail. No, the Bar Awards. Sorry, the Bar
Oh
Awards
wow,
Singapore.
congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you, Tron, for hosting, and everyone else. And that was my awesome tip of the cap for me to go like, time to leave now.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like local award got done fine. I wasn't going for anything else. I didn't want anything else. What people's opinions here matter to me more than Tales of Cocktails and that. But I
Mm.
digress. The year before that, I was nominated, and a little bird told me this year the only reason I didn't get it last year is because my personal life was a mess. So,
Interesting. So they
yeah,
consider those things.
everyone does. So it's again, you're in my opinion, this role is as a brand ambassador, you are a public servant, right?
Hmm.
William Grant Sons hires me, Mike Shore hires me, but not really. It's the community that hires me, and it's the community that fires me. Because if I'm not appealing to or helping or in any way giving back to the community, then I'm of no use to them. Therefore, I'm of no use to the brand. So it wasn't that I wasn't doing my job. It wasn't that I wasn't dedicated to everything I said I was dedicated to. My personal life was a mess. Therefore, it definitely affected my drinking. It would have affected
Mm.
my personability. And like sometimes when you've done a guest shift or you've done a training or it's your fifth one that week and you've on zero sleep, you don't want to take the 50th selfie with someone.
Oh yeah.
Like there's times where you're just like, all right, cool, man, I gotta go. And I noticed over the years, like year one, give me all the selfies. I want all the selfies. And then year two, yeah, selfies are great. And then year five, you're like, I'm old now. How long have we been taking
Yeah.
selfies for? So you gotta be careful what you wish for in that sense, but also very respectful of the fact that people look up to you in this role.
Yeah.
And if you just shit all over that, like you're not going to be a good brand ambassador. If you can't respect the fact that people want this job or like you or like what you do for them, and you can't sit there for 20 minutes after a session and take selfies, you're probably not going to be good at this job.
Yeah.
Or if you feel like you're too important, then you're not going to be good at this job.
Yeah, it's a real big question. I think that a lot of people in service don't realize. Like, well, in business in general, is that you really have to ask yourself, who is your audience, right? And who is your customer,
Yeah.
right? And then maybe the last one would be like, what is your product,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because sometimes you think your product is one thing, but it's really not that. The product
Yeah.
is like people would say, oh, the product is the drink. The product is not the drink.
It's lifestyle. Or,
Yeah, it's a holistic,
Mm.
right? It's a holistic experience that you are getting because you could walk into anywhere and get well, not anywhere, but you can walk into a lot of places, order a Manhattan, and be fine.
Yeah, nine times out of 10, it doesn't matter where I am. If I order a cocktail, like I probably wouldn't order Manhattan. That's very advantageous of you. I don't want like 15-year-old vermouth that's been open and half empty for that
That's
long. but
noted. Yes.
but I mean, yeah, I can pretty much go anywhere and get a daiquiri that I would deem worthy or
Hmm.
okay, a mojito, any sort of classic cocktail that isn't strong stirred down with warm vermouth.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. You I, how many times I've said this? I think like I enjoyed Skinny's like 2 years ago more than I enjoyed most cocktail bars I had ever been to, and the reason was like everyone was friendly and smiley, happy all the time. I got my drinks pretty fast. Considering they were 4 deep most of the time, I was getting my beer and my shot pretty quickly.
Hmm.
They knew what I wanted before I got to the bar.
That's a big one.
Oh, dude, that's value add. Like that's what taking to the next level. And then and when I left, like normally in a state, never let me forget my wallet, never let me forget my tab. Like it was that door to door, like start to finish, sort of. It still is that way, by the way. I just haven't been drinking for a while, like not drinking heavily.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying the heydays of my drinking when I was out every night, that was the bar I was like A-star, like
Yeah.
really good. And that you still
Anytime.
get that, you still do get that, and in all these great cocktail bars, but in varying degrees. And I think a lot of people haven't been put under pressure as much as they'd like to believe they would have been.
Or they
Um,
find ways to manage the pressure by
I,
having a tiny bar, for example. Or
yeah, but I mean, this bar is tiny. I still hope to be 4 deep. Like,
yeah,
I would love to be 4 deep most of the time if it was
yeah.
possible. But yeah, you can manage. Okay, you can manage your flow and you can manage your concept, right? Like Baxter Inn could hold, I think, around 200 people, probably less,
Oh
but
wow. Yeah.
let's just say it could. They wouldn't ever let it get capacity. So there used to be a queue round the alleyway and out into the street, and it would be one in, one out for the first like 3 hours of service, or whatever. So it would only ever be 50% full, so everyone could get a really good drinking session in. And then as it kind of peeled, it was just incredibly smart tactics to get
Hmm.
everyone's value for money and every repeat customer they want. Also that Kiasu factor, like I want to get in, like a nightclub in a
Yeah.
way. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that many bars as yet have been put under pressure on a regular basis, 6 deep, like nonstop dockets. It does happen, just not as regularly as it used to. So if you can, like, keep your eye on the ball, entertain customers, serve drinks at that pace, fantastic. Like you'll always get thumbs up.
So you would like to be 4 to 6 deep in this place.
Only if I had no other choice.
So what's an ideal? What's for you?
For us, like for me and Des and George, Des, George, and I, shall I say, to be
Yeah.
correct, we would love just to have the seats filled and everyone having a good time. Like, honestly, this whole location is designed to be like walking into your living room, as you can kind of tell
Hmm.
looking around. You guys can't see it, but you'll see it soon enough. It's kind of supposed to be like walking into your living room / kitchen. Living room's there, kitchen's here,
Yep.
and you're sitting down, you're having a good drink, you're having some good company, and people are meeting each other. That's the other thing we don't see much of is people meeting each other in bars.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked the other day. It was an American guy. I was like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" I'm like, "Whoa, what? Oh, you're a unicorn, leprechaun." Turns out he wanted to borrow a lighter, but still, it was a connection. It was a human
Yeah.
connection.
No, no. It's something that's not really done
As much.
so much anymore. Like people are very a bit more insular,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that creates more connections with the staff,
yeah.
right? But not with each other, not with each other anymore.
I mean, Des is the one. Like, you can take Des anywhere, and she will make friends, and she'll make friends with other people's friends. So she's a connector. She's
Hmm.
amazing at what she does, and it's just in her nature. I enjoy talking to people at length, as you can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can be a bit overly verbose,
I think
but
there are two of us. Yeah.
but like with Des here all the time, like locked down to the venue, not allowed to leave. No, I'm joking. But with her here as a host and as a crucial owner and everything like that, like it's going to be pretty amazing to see her connect all those people because I haven't had a chance to see her since she was at 28, really, or maybe when she was helping her friend out down at Boat Key. But yeah, seeing her connect to everyone like that and being a part of it is going to be pretty cool. And I think that's going to be our factor here. Like our X factor is basically Desiree. So we don't have
Shaking
too
her
many of
head.
those.
Yeah.
Hey.
So Des is over there on the other end of the bar, just kind of shaking her head. It's like,
hide,
oh
hide
my.
behind the fan.
No, but like there is a reason why 28 has that reputation,
Yeah, yeah,
and they've been flying on that reputation for a long time now.
absolutely.
Yeah. Um, So, how do you want people to feel about this place?
Um, how do I want people to feel about this place?
Is this
Hopefully proud. Like, I mean, I would like people to be proud of what we did here. It's built entirely by hand. I'm trying to think of one thing we didn't. Oh, the only thing we didn't do is put up that air conditioning ourselves,
okay?
because that wouldn't be safe at all. Um,
But these lights, you did these lights?
George and I did these lights, yeah. This whole bar frame, the floor we're sitting on right now is raised up from recycled floor pallets from a concert that was on at DBS Regatta.
And you did the floor.
We did
This
the
elevated
floor,
floor.
yeah. George
Wow.
and I did the floor. The banquettes are made of the same material, just painted differently and obviously shaped differently. Like everything in here is custom. There isn't one thing that isn't really like, yeah.
Yeah, when I was last year in December,
Mm.
like the wall was different, like the paint was different, right?
Yeah, that my first hatchet job of a paint job.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we need to be really bright and green in here, and I think it was somewhere between eggshell and puke.
Oh God.
It was just like I was trying to make it look dilapidated and stuff.
I
It
believe it's
wasn't
called
good.
salmonella.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It looked like snot. It wasn't good at all. Now this nice green tone we've got here, that Desiree picked out actually, it's kind of between green and gray, is fantastic. And it kind of, when we got Distort in here, I was gonna say his real name. I don't know if I'm allowed to. But when he came in, and he was like, "What color do you want this?" I was like, "Just like make it pop. Like
Yeah.
do a color palette that you like think's gonna work with the rest of this, but don't mute it. Like I've muted the tones in here a lot. Like there's
Hmm.
nothing really outstanding because I want this to show off the most.
Hmm.
And then we've got this yellow sort of soft lighting as well. The only white light is behind the bar, so you can see the bottles and read some signage.
Hmm.
Other than that, everything's soft yellow. We got some graffiti from Joker over here from Thailand, and I got another one kicking around somewhere. Some Ivals artwork. We're gonna collect some more and put it up, and then we got some classic, bartender wanky artwork out
And
there
I think a lot of this is really making that home vibe, right?
because it's from my house.
Yeah, well,
that's why.
and it's very eclectic. Like
Yeah.
there's a story of how it's told over time,
Yeah,
and like the things that you've collected and the things that you guys have been into
yeah.
as well. Is this the kind of place that you expect people like the same crowd all the time?
I mean, we are as a group between George, Desiree, and I very focused on regulars,
Hmm.
just because I feel like there's a lot of that lacking as well. Like, regulars again, because there's a very transient relationship Singapore has with the rest of Southeast Asia. People are coming and going. There's a lot that gets lost, and a lot of customers who probably you lose because new things are opening.
Yeah.
So for us, it's incredibly important. Anyone who walks through our door, I want to be able to remember you a year later if you come back in. As long as you haven't grown a massive beard or
Yep.
had a sex change or anything like that, I want to be able to remember you when you come back in.
Yeah.
So I think anyone who comes through, and our theory is because of you've seen the space, like we're 3 floors up on a shop house.
Yeah.
We don't have any store frontage sort of thing, and we're not really having any signage put up. It's kind of be a word of mouth thing. So we have to rely on the first foot soldiers who come in and be like, "You guys are now our advocates. Thanks so much. Go and spread the word."
Yeah. Yeah.
And our friends and our family in the industry. We're very, again, like I say, Southeast Asia is so tight. Like all the community here is amazing. We all support each other. Shout out to like Hutch and June who've just opened No Sleep. They're doing really well in Keon Sec, and Michael and Celia and the crew have done Barbary Coast. So a lot of new bars opening up amidst all this stuff happening, and not one of them are going for each other's throats or anything like that. They're going like, cool, let's do this together. Let's share some customers.
Hmm.
Send them on a circuit, and almost everything in Singapore is walking distance, almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we would love to host anyone who wants to come. There will always be a spot here somewhere. We'll make sure there's seats.
Yeah.
We got a balcony.
Yeah.
You can sit out there. It's nice. It's cool at night. No.
So, how many years in the industry now in total?
I was calculating that the other day. If you count like some illegal bar shifts,
Okay.
if you count some illegal bar shifts or unsupervised bar shifts when I was 16, that'll be 24-ish.
Wow.
Is that 16 to 30? Is that good maths?
1630. Yes.
24?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's fast maths.
Yeah. Is that
So-
24? Oh shit, that might not be 24. I think that's 30. Sorry, it's 20. No, it's 14.
Is it 14?
It's 14. That's
Wait.
14.
Oh, yeah, 20 to 30. Yeah, you're right. 14. Damn
14.
it. Yeah, you're right.
Wow. I'm so glad you're not my lawyer
or your accountant, my friend.
or accountant. Yeah.
Actually, you would be gaining stuff, so yeah,
Yeah. Well,
you'd
yes.
definitely be your accountant. No wonder the bar isn't finished yet. Where did all our money go?
All right. So on that, how long have you been building this thing?
It's been it's 7 months, 7 to 8 months now. It's coming into our 8th month of the project. We're getting there. I think like everything's in, the guts are in. We're good to go. As you noticed earlier, we had some power tripping issues, so we can get that resolved over the weekend. We gave it a good hard crack on the weekend with some friends over here, making some just loose drinks and seeing how loud we can get it without destroying the neighborhood. Seems to be all working fine. I would say if you're alluding to when we might open, officially, I want to try and make sure we open April 1st.
Nice.
April Fool's Day. How you never know, right?
Yeah. Well,
we can promote it for April 1st, and then if we're not ready, we can just renege.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh,
that is not a bad idea.
Just board up the door and just make it look like it's been derelict forever. Yeah. I actually might use that.
That might work.
Yeah. So maybe April 1st. Hopefully, we said that. We said July in last May. So
Yeah. Trust me. I know it. I know the feeling. Like, oh my goodness! Like for our space, it's been 6 months of back jobs.
Yeah,
with a contractor, which would be fine, except that all the work is done in the foyer. So like you can't let people in.
No.
So I would say that 7 months is pretty good, especially since you're doing it all yourself.
I was to say, what would be nicer to have a contractor? Then I'd have someone to blame. I only have myself and George and Des to blame.
It's called a mirror.
Yeah. So look at it. There's so many mirrors in here as well. Yeah, I mean, we've got some small things to fix, or sort of get ready for inspection. Once inspection's done, we're kind of getting ready. Like, the one thing I'll say to anyone opening a bar or a venue or a cafe or whatever it is, the hardest thing to do is press the go button.
Yep.
Like every day I work on it, right? Every day, lunchtime when I'm at the office, obviously I'm doing my regular work for Monk Shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
But lunchtime comes around, I'll crack into sort of looking at some social media stuff, and I'm always like, oh well, I just won't do that until like later, or I just won't do it until this piece of work is done. And that's where the delays come in for me. It's like I'm so scared of letting it go and before I think it's perfect. And that's a big issue that George and Des have with me as well. They're like, dude, it's ready. I'm like, no. That spot over there needs like this. And they're like, no, dude, we're getting this done. So,
we had a similar situation where last year in 2019, it was July, and we actually hosted the Philippine AeroPress Championships in our space. So it was like 300 people came in, saw the thing, and it wasn't done at all. But most people, when they saw it, they thought it was done.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that needs to be done, not yet done. And then it's been, months and months and months of not being able to open.
Yeah.
And then the right timing to open was frankly yesterday.
Right.
Right?
But you want to come here and see me? I know.
But I want to come here and see
I
you.
understand.
I mean, but we're supposed to be here for other business, but we have business in Thailand.
Yeah.
We're going to Bangkok at the end of this week.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense for us to move either one.
Yeah.
And it was a situation where I was like, you know what? I always tell my team, you have your job for a reason. Use your best judgment. Yeah. And so it was a big step for me to just let go and be like, you know what? This is the right time to flip the switch.
Yeah.
I told my operations manager, Ina, you're in charge. And it's going to work.
So jealous you have an operations manager. I'm so jealous you have staff.
Well, she's my partner. She's also our partner.
Okay, cool.
So they're 5 partners. She's the 3rd partner. And now this store is actually also a partner.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, in the entire Honeycomb organization, which involves, street art and murals, coffee service and co-working, and media as well. Because we conduct we run the entire company as a media company.
Yeah, and he's a good egg.
Super.
Yeah.
He started out as basically like an intern or an apprentice in the company.
Yeah.
And now he's a partner.
Nice.
And it's a testament to what a great character he is. And one of my learnings, once you meet someone who is, that salt of the earth personality, like stick it out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back to 11 Madison,
Yeah.
right, with Danny Meyer,
Yeah.
when they got the #1 restaurant in the world accolade, they closed.
Well, was that? Yeah, no, that was he'd already sold it at that point, I believe.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but when they sold it,
Yeah, what is no longer 11 Madison after that, and they want to refurb it. And,
Yeah. but
Yeah.
the personality of the staff is what I'm saying. Like
Oh, 100%.
the service standard,
Mm,
they closed it,
yeah.
and then when they while they were closed for the 3 months it took to refurbish and change everything.
3 months. That's amazing.
3 months, right, in New York.
Yeah.
No, because like I guess New York is like Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like if you are closed, you are bleeding and you will die.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, I feel you.
Yeah. And in New York, what they did was they really recognized that the value was in their staff.
Yeah.
So they opened up a pop-up house in the Hamptons, took the entire staff there, did a Hamptons menu for the entire summer,
Wow. That's
and
pretty cool.
and housed all of their staff. And they were like, you know what? We've been preparing for this one house for a whole year.
Mm.
It's ready. We're going to run it for 3 months and probably realistically not make that much money. But the value
Enough
was
to keep your staff on though.
but the value was in keeping the staff.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing who the good people, once you have great people who understand hospitality and you've invested in training them and getting them to spec, hold on to that. That is your greatest treasure.
Yes. Yeah. Staff are everything. I agree. And good branding.
And good branding.
Couldn't do that pop out without good branding.
Oh, yeah. And leaving Monkey Shoulder,
Yes.
what do you hope people remember you for there and your legacy for that period of your life? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, the 5 years. I just want to be remembered for actually caring about the community. Like that's if I could be remembered for anything, caring about the community is one of the things I did. I from the heart did the most. I would love to be remembered for that. If I was to get hit by a bus tomorrow, that would be nice to be remembered for that. I hope not the drinking. I hope not the partying. Like I tried to shake that like a bad smell like a couple years ago. Remember, if you're in that position, if you do take up a brand ambassador role at any point, it's not about the partying at all. People get suckered into believing it is. And that company card will bite you in the ass because expenses are no fun when you're 6 months behind.
Oh, wow.
I know the company will remember me for my lack of expenses. They're already going, like, how far behind is he? He has 2 months. He's got to catch up by 8.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's going to be in here every night.
All right. If you have met Jay Gray over the last 5 years that he's been traveling around, that'd be 30 trips to make up your 60 flights a year.
What, across
Southeast Asia?
Oh, Southeast Asia. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
So if you have met Jay Gray over that time, as soon as they open,
15 trips, 30 flights, but there and back.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, you're saying it's 60.
60
Oh my
flights.
goodness, it's fucking math again. we understand half pour, full pour. Like this is what we do. How many stirs? Yeah, we're gonna counting up. No division,
Okay.
no subtraction. Yeah, if you have met Jay Gray over that entire period, come here and see if he remembers you. He definitely wants to be able to say that he's the one who remembers you. That that aspect of his personality. And if you really wanna, really wanna get him, get a sex change first. And then come here
then come and talk to
see
me.
if he still remembers you.
Yeah, I'll just look you deep in the eyes, only the eyes. It was really worth letting you get that last line out. Thank you for the plug. I kept on interrupting every time.
When you're coming, make sure that you follow and you send a message to
The Cocktail Advocate
on Instagram.
or Sago House SG.
On Instagram, I am at KO Kosh on Instagram. Please, if you have liked this video, please leave a comment. It helps us a lot. Click thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Click thumbs down if you didn't like it. I'm fine with that. As long as you do something, I'm happy because that engagement is engagement.
That's true. That's true.
And that does help us. If you have negative comments, we want to hear them too, because we want to know how to improve and things that you like,
Very true.
things that you don't like.
Desiree's already commenting a negative comment. She's already preempting, like writing down.
She's like storing them up. She's storing them up, and they're gonna go out like
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Really
Like
needs to shave his beard. They shouldn't wear a beanie in Singapore.
at Honeycomb Manila on Instagram and on YouTube. Please subscribe. Jay Gray, it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. All right, peace out, y'all.
Bye bye.